Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on January 13th, 2025, and I think it's a Monday. What? It's a Monday. Whoa. You better look out. Look out. So I hope everybody's doing fantastic, magnificently, and marvelous because I am doing fantastic. I'm doing magnificent and I'm doing marvelous. No complaints on my end. Everything is going as it's going. Everything is going based on how much work I put into it and the intentions and purposes of what I'm doing. To establish myself, to provide for myself, to provide for my, just provide for my myself and my partner. So I just wanted to come on through this morning and talk about something completely different from what I usually talk about. And it may be surprising to some, and it may not. I started to pay attention to, because everybody's controlling their narrative as best they can. I don't know what the situation is with, with TikTok and Facebook and blah blah blah. I know Facebook was on that owner Zuckerberg. I'm just going to say he was on a marketing campaign recently in the last 2 weeks or so. He's out there marketing himself and attempting to reinvent himself. I guess I don't know. I'm just not really sure what he is intending to do, what he wants to do, and I doubt he does either. I'm just being honest. He seems wayward, kind of lost. I haven't even listened to his videos, his video interviews. I don't have to. When you are able to think properly, you have the proper thinking modes and capabilities, you can kind of figure out pretty much someone's movement and how they are conducting themselves, or what they are attempting to relay to each other or relay to us. And let's see. Yeah. And he's in my opinion, he's definitely, and he needs to admit this as well, he's definitely privileged. Okay, he's privileged. He can do whatever he wants. Okay? And it is he reminds me of a toddler, because I think that's where a lot of stuff develops or underdevelops, in a toddler stage, which is extremely, extremely, extremely important, especially once they get into their adolescence. You really, really need to pay attention to how they are cultivating, contemplating, and developing themselves. And as parents, you need to recognize certain things about your children that possibly needed some type of intervention. Now, I have no idea about this dude's life, and I'm not here to necessarily say that, but all I'm saying is he's on a marketing campaign, trying to, in my opinion, saving face. And also attempting to point blame as well, So that's what's going to be different about what I'm going to talk about today. I want to send out. This is going to be some positive information to biological men. I want to speak to biological men. I know a lot of biological men kind of follow me. I know you do, and hey, it is what it is. But I do want to, since I want to say something about biological men for a moment, since I usually, and I stay in my own lane, and I made that clear in the beginning. It is disrespectful for me to be running around telling biological men how to be biological men. Okay, I do not do that, but I do step in when there's some concerns about how biological men are developing or lack thereof, okay? And it's troubling, and I'm mainly speaking to those that are in their 40s and below, 40s and under. The ones in their 40s and up, they've already established themselves. They're not going to change at all. So that is going to be for biological women who desire a biological man. That is something you're going to have to contend with if you choose to. Otherwise, I still sense and receive that biological women and biological men are going to be separating, and that's because of safety. Okay, it's not to say that they're gonna, and they're gonna be deciding how these arrangements are going to be set up, not the man, not the biological man. The biological woman is going to determine how her life is going to be set up to where she can feel safe and secure, and chances are, she may have to, this I'm talking, a little bit in the future. She may have to just, it is about safety, and it's about protecting children, and a lot of them may even choose not to bring children in the world, which is that ought to be at the top of their list. Do not procreate under any circumstances unless it's an emergency situation. Stand by. All right, putting me on another pot of coffee. I forgot to do that last night or whatever. Anyway, here we are facing each other, talking about these conversations. Woo. So on the social media platform, or let's just put it this way, not necessarily the social media platform, but those are unfortunately the outlets that we have now to get a whole lot of narratives. All a binge full of them. Whereas there's a lot to consume, and so it's very, very, very important that you recognize that there's a lot to consume. A lot of it requires thinking for yourself. Okay, a lot of people are controlling their narratives, which is fantastic, but at the same time, these are theories and opinions of individuals attempting to express themselves. And so a lot of people need to recognize that is an attempt at expression. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I said this in the beginning. My theories and opinions don't mean a motherfucking thing. Or I think I said my theories and opinions don't mean a goddamn thing or something. I don't know what I said. But then that's true. Theories and opinions, we all need to be able to express ourselves, but we have to manage it. Okay, we have to manage how we express ourselves, and the main thing to manage is our what? Emotions and feelings. Okay, you have to be able to do that, whether you're a biological man or a biological woman. You have to be able to manage your emotions and your feelings. You have to. Okay, and everything starts with the thoughts. And otherwise, it's just going to be civil war, or verbal war. Like that's what's happening on the social media platform. But that shouldn't be surprising to people that there's verbal wars, between the sexes, the left and the right, the black and the white, the man and the woman, and the professional against the non-professional, the rich and the poor. It's just a whole. But I find it very. I enjoy it. Let me just make that clear, because I understand how to manage myself. Okay, so I know how to deal with opposing sides and opposing views of things. I mean, so it makes it very, very. It's a learning opportunity. So if anything, any of you are going to do from here on out, learning is it, and being laid back about it, being somewhat passive by eliminating your not eliminating. Let's be real careful about that. Suspending your ego, suspending how you label yourself, suspending your beliefs, especially, and just suspending yourself and kind of sit there, and as you're listening to all of this going on, see if you can listen there in silence and see what you can pick up, what kind of sounds and tones you're picking up from people that are talking, especially if you're a biological woman and you are attracted to biological men. Okay, I told you what I am. I'm a biological woman. However, I am attracted to biological women. With that beautiful, beautiful feminine energy. I represent more of a masculine side of it, but I'm still neutral. I'm still neutralized with my masculine and my feminine. But I'm a tomboyish type of biological woman. Into sports, into manual labor, physical labor, blah 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 blah. And I'm attracted to that feminine, soft. Not necessarily soft, but if they have, if a woman has that feminine energy, I can still see the softness about it and the beauty of it, even if they may be raging and cursing me out, so to speak. So, but I said in the beginning when I started my videos, it would be disrespectful for me, a biological woman, to be running around thinking I understand what a biological man is, or what I can tell you is what was modeled for me. And that was modeled via my father, especially, and then some other male relatives, or maleness of men in the community and such. And I told you about my dad. My dad was he modeled to me what a man is. Okay, now a biological man is. Okay, he protected us. He protected, he provided for us. He protected us. He sheltered us. He made sure we were fed via going out and work long hours, sometimes 16 hours, at a stretch. And he made our lives safe, even though. I made this clear. Even though we were in a safe neighborhood, in a safe Black culture neighborhood as I grew up, but you let the mainstream media step in. Okay, you'll get a different perspective. That's why I say to non-Black people, stretch your thinking about stuff and realize that you were manipulated, deceived, and lied to about the Black culture, especially the Black culture experience. A lot of our history was erased, as they say, eroded, whitewashed. It was deceived and manipulated, and just turned into. And it's going to be so difficult if you don't put in the effort to kind of go back into your memories about what you were told about a particular culture, especially Black culture, Black men and Black women. Okay, so as I said, I know, most of the men. I have a lot of male followers. I think not necessarily. You're not going to necessarily see it in the views. I told you, not going to see it in the followers, as I told you, but I just know. I listen to conversations. I know. And so I am very encouraged, actually, with the conversations I hear on, on the social media platforms. I'm encouraged because, like I said, it would be disrespectful for me, a biological woman, to be interfering with the development of a biological man. And I want to say this to biological women. You need to just step back, observe, and listen. Okay? And understand what these biological men are attempting to relay to you without everybody going back and forth, and, it's chaos right now. And that's usually what happens. You have chaos. It's chaos. But eventually it's gonna, it's gonna neutralize, and we're gonna all, they're gonna have to make some decisions as to how we're gonna interact with each other. I think, like I said, I think it's safe. For safety, women they're gonna want to separate, okay, because they know that the degeneracy, the deviancy, the perversion is somewhat sometimes it's kind of almost attached to the existence of a biological man. All you have to do is look at the results, okay, and not just in your neighborhood, all over this planet, okay, with the act of war. If you only knew what was happening behind the scenes with the act of war, you would be terrified, okay, because the woman and their children are the ones that are being intentionally targeted in war. The act of war intentionally targets women, biological women. Do the research, see if you can get into some of these spaces of where certain things are happening, and like I said, suspend your ego. I think you're going to be so terrified. It may not be safe for some of you if you haven't developed yourself properly, if you haven't healed yourself properly, if you haven't, healed your wounds properly. I would say avoid it, because it can it can go into a psychosis for you. It can destroy your psyche and cause some irreparable damage to your consciousness. So make sure you're ready for stuff. Everybody think they're ready for things. Well, test it out and see how ready you are for certain realities about the act of war in these countries. And like I said, and who they target. They don't target the male enemies. They target the women and the children. Okay? So, like I said, I'm listening to some of the conversations online where men are talking to men, which that's how it ought to be, and attempting to be honest with themselves as best they can. How else are they going to do it? I told you everything needs to be in proper setting, but unfortunately that's difficult as well, because some of us live on the other side of the country, some of us live on the other side of the planet. So to bring us together, unfortunately we have to use these devices to do so. And so you have to be creative to figure out how to get your theories and opinions out there in the best form possible. But you do need to control your narrative and take away all this mainstream media manipulation, deception, these politicians with their manipulation and their deception, as well as those others that are in that pyramid or those Ponzi scheme hierarchical structures. Okay, it's really not as many as you think. Okay, and so I think once some of us snap out of it, we can realize what our powers are. And so we'll be able to develop a proper way to defend ourselves, man, woman, child, animals, without the act of war necessarily. And the proper protection and serve, not this illusion and delusion of what we have now, which it is. And I made that very clear. And the things that I say and talk about are factual, actually. It's not like but they're still my theories and opinions. You still have to investigate and research on your own, but there's evidence to back it up. And when you evolve your consciousness, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to recognize certain factors that are logical, rational, and reasonable. You can calculate it. It's evolved math. Even though I'm not into math, but I understand the consciousness. I keep pointing back here that the pineal gland, but I understand the consciousness and the energy of it, and I know how to visualize. Okay, you just have to bring out certain skills and abilities that we have lie dormant inside of us. We have to redefine what it means to be intelligent. We need to redefine it. It's not about test. It's not about no IQs. Okay, and it's not necessarily about emotional intelligence. That's that's a bit what's that word I'm trying to esoteric, because some people attempt to they think that they have all of this intelligence, but all it is beliefs. That's all it is. It's beliefs, unproven beliefs about, how our brains work, and how our consciousness work, how our psyches work. Okay, I know because I was taught properly, and I self-educated myself, and that's why I'm here before you. Stand by again. And I know, a lot of people listen to me on mostly audio. So, but you're gonna hear sometimes you're gonna hear some dead space. Get over it. I know they said no dead space in radio, when people listen to you audibly. Okay, shut the hell up. Shut the fuck up. God damn, with all these fallacies, So I wanted to say something, to the biological men out there that are speaking among yourselves to attempt to understand what the fuck is going on. I appreciate that. And I hope, and women, biological women, will eventually know that they need to, and I say this to biological women, and more specifically black women, if you say you're going to be minding your motherfucking business, well, you need to mind your motherfucking business. How about that? Okay, and leave these biological men to themselves, among themselves, to work these things out. Okay, I heard someone say there's a 70,000 plus biological men somewhere having conversations. So what? Let them. Leave them alone. They have to work this out because they are on the verge of destroying themselves. A lot of biological men are on the verge of destroying themselves. Okay, which means they'll destroy their lineage, their ancestral development. Okay, like the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals, and from what we've been taught, the Neanderthals made themselves vulnerable. And so, what does that mean? They became effeminate, even though they didn't look feminine. They became effeminate or feminine in nature. In other words, they could not defend themselves, and they were they were not equipped to properly defend the women and the children. That's the kind of men that we're developing. And someone said this the other day, and it's so true. Get over it. Again, if you're going to be listening to my videos, you have to suspend your ego, suspend your feelings and your emotions, and being always offended by everything someone attempts to say to you. Okay, and it's on both sides. Men are, crying and being so emotional, and the women are. You ought to be. All I say about that is you need to be managed. Because if you're in your feelings and emotions, let's just be clear, I'm not talking about intimacy. These intimacy relationships sometimes require that. That's something completely different. So listen to me. If you're going to interact with the general public, okay, those feelings and emotions ought to be managed. Okay? It doesn't matter who you are. And so I was talking to someone, I don't think, from my point of view or my theories and opinion, it's not like women do not want men to be able to, have emotions and have feelings. The biological woman wants to be safe around those emotions. Okay? A lot of biological men, when you start getting into your emotions and you get offended easily, you become violent. You become unsafe. Pay attention to the facts about that. Pay attention to the results. A lot of these serial killers, okay, which they won't admit it because they're nothing but pathological liars as well, possibly had their feelings hurt. Something happened to them in their adolescence and in the mother's womb. Something happened there that became disconnect and was not properly developed. And I could tell you what it is, but a lot of people don't want to hear it. It's because we're over procreating. We're over procreating. And each planet has an amount of uh, space to properly diversify, biodiversify. That includes humans, animals, plants, trees. There has to be a proper balance of just like with trees, just like with flowers, there has to be a proper balance of volume and space for it to flourish. Okay, so I'm listening to the men. I got plenty of videos on that, and I don't need to go into that. I want to say this to the biological men out there. I hear you, okay, and I appreciate a lot of you and your efforts to help to talk to other biological men about what you're feeling and your emotions, and you need to be able to say that without biological women interfering. Again, biological women, if you say you're going to be minding your motherfucking business, well, mind your motherfucking business. You don't need to be bothering biological men about what they're saying and what they're, let them talk among each other. How else are they going to? Instead of, women, we can't, biological women, you need to be really mindful of your seduction, your ability with your feminine energy to manipulate and deceive too. Okay? Own it. Don't be offended by it. Okay? I see it, and I know you see it. Okay? I've worked on myself, developed myself, so I know what's there in all of us, and the capabilities of what that can mean to you, and how much joy and enthusiasm and happiness once you reveal what that is within you, and how comforting it is to be able to ground yourself in your reality and know who you are, what you are, and why you are. You will not be offended by what people say to you. So again, I appreciate the biological men just doing everything you can to speak to other biological men without the interference of transgender, and without the interference of biological women. Let these biological men who are attracted to women, or they may be gay, you may have to put the biological gay male into another category with themselves and let them speak among themselves. But for some reason, I find that there's a lot more balance with biological gay men than there are with the rest of it, for some reason, because they're usually very, very biological women love them. Biological women love biological gay men because of the they're usually very very kind and gentle, but yet they can they have the strength to do what needs to be done in a society, to help with humanity. So they have a little bit more, in my opinion, a lot more structured development, in my opinion. Okay. But then again, with every group, whether they're biological women or men, there's an extremism on each side, for a lot of the population, where they're extreme fanatical, and that's because they're unhealed, they're wounded, and they're attempting to go out. They're bleeding all over the place, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically, attempting to save people. And I said that you can't save people when you're bleeding yourself. You need to heal your wounds, and you need to heal, and then you can properly develop yourself and know what needs to be done to protect everybody and protect humanity and to protect the population. So I want to send love to the biological men out there. They're doing everything you can to talk to other biological men about biological men. You're not talking about women, okay? You're not talking about women at all. You mention them every now and then, but you're talking about biological men versus biological men. You're talking in that sphere to attempt to understand each other, attempt to help each other without the interference of biological women or transgenders. I'm telling you, back off, especially to my biological women, especially if you are claiming that you are looking for a biological man and you can't find them. They're there, but you can't keep interfering. I know as a biological black woman, yes, we have a certain level of innate abilities and strength and this and that and the other. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes that's a positive thing. Sometimes that's a negative thing. We, as a biological black woman, I know we can get on each other's nerve. Because of we're not properly neutralizing our skills and abilities, and our we still have to be neutralized and control our emotions too, and not make people, like I said, I could take it. My mom was that way. Sometimes they can be very intimidating. Admit it. Stand by. Sometimes as a biological black woman, we can be intimidating sometimes to each other and to others. We are ready to battle, and we have our reasons for that. We know what we're doing. A lot of us, billions of us, or millions of us, or how many we are out there, but we just have to manage ourselves just as much and neutralize ourselves. And there's no reason to be offended, even though offensive words come towards us. We can take it. Is my point. We can handle that. We can handle it amongst ourselves, and we can handle it from external forces. We have nothing to prove. Biological black women have nothing to prove. Okay, what we just have to do is continue to work on ourselves internally, get rid of these supernatural fallacies about what it means to have the type of skills and ability that we have. It's BS. You don't need all of that. That's esoteric. It's unnecessary. Okay, just be who you are. As a beautiful, cultivated, based on your lineage and based on your life experiences. Be that type of guide for people. Make people feel comfortable in your presence. For as long as I can remember, a lot of people have always said that to me. I feel safe with you. I feel comfortable with you, and you will, if you develop yourself properly. Okay, and know how to, kind of flow naturally when you're interacting with people. Like I said, I don't have no issues with my interpersonal relationships, none at all. You know why? Because I control them. I allow who I want in my space. Okay, and once someone gets in my space, I'm going to protect and provide for them in the best way I can, and allow them to be whatever they want to be. I'm not going to interfere. Just like my dad, the same way my mom and dad were. They were contrasting styles of people, as they say. Possibly opposites. Well, they were opposites. Okay, but there was a lot of interference with. Okay, and I've made that clear. Sometimes your extended family can cause more harm in your marriages and your relationships than strangers. So keep that in mind as well. But their styles were contrasting. My dad would do stuff outdoors. My mom would do stuff inside. When they were done with their respective duties and whatever, they would come together. We would eat, and it was a nurturing environment because it was a nurturing community, black culture. We had all the essentials necessary. Like I said, a grocery store, library, blah blah blah, everything that was there. My mom's doctor, her OBGYN, was around the corner. Okay, we had a hospital that was catering to our culture, but that suspiciously burned down. That's when the interference started. The interference to break up black culture started in the possibly 50s, 60s, 70s, but you didn't see. But the effects and the erosion were very, very. It was very. You didn't recognize what was happening. And it became in black culture, a lot of black cultures became dumping grounds for certain type of resources, and that's how you know that the people that were in these so-called leadership positions were As ignorant as ever. I mean, I can say something worse, but they didn't recognize if you bury something in the ground, it's going to eventually affect everybody. So so if you're going to bury, say for example, you're going to store toxic waste on the ground in certain communities, don't you recognize that eventually it's going to come into your community too? Is anybody thinking clearly and effectively? Obviously not. And then also all the deceptions about, how people get cancer and how certain lifestyles of people develop cancer. No. It's more environmental, but that's not going to be admitted. It's not going to be admitted. It's how we were improperly storing resources or wasteful resources. Like I said, nuclear, radiation, chemicals. Okay. Yeah, let's dump it into the black communities or dump it into the non-white communities. But then, like I said, like you could tell that a lot of people just do not think properly. Eventually, that stuff is going to start to seep into your neighborhoods. Okay, so snap the fuck out of it too. For a lot of you, so-called elites, and you can be pastors, preachers, bishops, popes, entertainers. Elite status of people that for some reason are becoming more, as they say, dumbed down than ever. And a lot of it has to do with the population, our energy flow, our lack of proper oxygen. I can never pronounce that right. Where that's being seeped away daily due to the population, and with the mixture of the CO2 and, it's just a whole lot of components to it, which should have been relayed to us by our so-called scientists, these so-called elite talking heads. But they were degenerating at such a rapid rate that they didn't recognize that they were turning themselves into, these creepy men, these creepy biological men that we talk about, these inappropriate biological men where women, especially children, let's make this very clear, are not safe. Okay, they're not safe. And it has nothing to do with their sexuality or how they identify. Okay, if they're a biological man, they're born biological men, they are a threat and danger to biological women. And that is clear and effective. Results prove it. Take this on, again, with your ego suspended, your labels suspended, and kind of look at stuff in a logical, rational, and reasonable fashion as best you can. Be clear and effective. Be grounded. Keep yourself in silence about stuff. Start reading on books on certain psychiatrists, philosophers. Vow to yourself you're going to dig deeper, and no one has to know. So I'm going to stop that right now. I'll probably come back with some more videos about that. But I do want to praise the biological men out there that are doing everything in your power to reach other biological men and help them through this entanglement. And that it has nothing to do with the biological woman. It's just the circumstances. It is the circumstances and how everything is being uncovered now to understand, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense why somebody would think this or that and the other. It makes sense why somebody would behave in such a way. It'll make sense why certain people turned out to be this way. Everything will start making sense to you. And then you're going to do everything in your power to heal yourself, develop yourself properly as best you can. And I've said this, the damage has been done to our climate. Our climate is destructing right before our eyes. That's not a goddamn thing anyone's going to be able to do about that. So don't be delusional about how they pass laws and write into laws and use a pen to attempt to resolve the catastrophes that we will be faced. But do the best you can to protect yourself, protect your family, and vow to yourself that, hey, I'm going to figure this out one way or another. I'm going to figure this out. And I send peace and love to the biological men that are working together, talking together to attempt to resolve things. And I say, and I stress this to the biological women, leave them the fuck alone. Okay? Get out of the way. You know what to do yourself. You got work to do yourself. So leave them alone. Work on healing yourself. Make sure you are properly healed. Make sure your wounds are properly healed. And most importantly, make sure you're not using that criminal feminine energy, to manipulate and deceive people. Okay, that's obvious sometimes as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and send peace and love all over the stars and moon and mountains. It's about universal love at the end of the day. Universal love. And remember, we were all inclusive from the beginning. Trust me, I'll be back.